Are you familiar with the Consumer Electronics Show? Every January, all of the people who bring out the latest gizmos and electronics meet in Las Vegas for a huge convention. Part of that convention is the adult section, where they bring out their latest movies. This is also when we have our biggest award ceremony. Like I've mentioned before, people in the entertainment business just love to give themselves awards and pat themselves on the back. There's all kinds of award shows for everything from acting on stage to acting on screens to television acting, daytime awards, music, you name it. There's an award for everything in the entertainment business. And of course, the adult genre is no different. One of the last movies I made was The Masseuse. This was while I was still under contract with Vivid Video, and it starred myself and Randy Spears. This movie was very unique in that there was only 2 people who actually had an explicit scene. That was myself and Randy, and we had several together. It was the story of this man who falls in love with his masseuse, who is really not comfortable with a happy ending, if you know what I mean. But she makes an exception for this guy because she kind of likes him. Well, he gets too involved and he follows her home and etc. Anyway, we won awards for this movie. I got Actress of the Year. The movie won Best Movie of the Year. The screenplay was marvelous. And it was such a pleasure to work with Randy Spears. He was one of my favorite people to work with, and I had worked with him in I Do and I Do Too. He played my husband in both of those movies, and I just loved the professionalism that he brought to the set. He was good at everything he did, so it was wonderful to be able to work with him. When I saw the script and how well it was written and how enthusiastic everyone was about this movie, I knew that this one was going to be very special. In this movie, when this gentleman follows her home and finds out that she's married and she has a baby, it freaks her out because he knocks on her door and confronts her while she's holding the baby. Now, the funny thing was that I had a baby, so I had all the baby gear, you know, the bottles and stuff like that, the burping cloths, to bring to the set to add authenticity to it. Now, this was kind of scary for several reasons. We didn't want the authorities or anyone to think that I was actually holding a real baby in this scene. So at the end of the film, I do this thing where I take the blankets out and the weight that's in there out, and I take everything apart and I show that there's really no baby here because nobody wanted the authorities to come and try to take my child away from me for just making this movie. I wasn't endangering my child. They were not there on the set. So we had to kind of prove that just to be sure. But it was really a thrill to know that this movie was so well received by the public and the critics that it got these awards. That night at the awards show, I was shocked when I won. I really was. I did not expect to win. I know sometimes you hear actresses say that they kind of expected to win or that it was their turn or whatever. I never had an inkling. So it was a thrill, to actually have been honored and respected for my work in the business. And a big thank you to everyone who was involved in that, by the way. And a big thank you to Randy Spears because he was a pleasure to work with. He made it fun. He made it easy. One of the scenes in the movie that I think is the most memorable is where he wants to do this thing with oil with her. He wants to lubricate her all over with baby oil. And she's like, oh, okay. She's really not into it, but she's willing to do it for this guy because this guy was a virgin when he came to her, and she's kind of teaching him. She kind of feels a lot of respect and love and, wants to help him, wants to take him under her wing, so to speak. So she consents, and she does this thing with the oil, and it was quite a scene. So when we did it, we were shooting on location, and everybody in the crew was kind of gathered into this small room, and the room was not very big. There wasn't much room for more than a king-size bed and the crew to stand around the edges in this room. Now, this is kind of unusual because when you shoot a movie, most of the time, everybody's already seen it, you know. These crew members have been on hundreds of sets. They're pretty jaded. They're not really interested in the sex. It's kind of like, yeah, let's get it shot and get home. I got things to do, you know. They're over it, so to speak. They've seen it all. So to have so many people in there, in this room, watching and, you know, intently watching was kind of a surprise to me, and definitely a big compliment. Randy and I got so into it and had so much fun that the mattress kind of slid off the box spring, and we kind of ended up right at the with the mattress on top of the mattress. He and I kind of at the feet of the cinematographer and Paul Thomas, who was directing the movie. Kind of in one fell swoop, we just kind of it was like, whoa, hello. I haven't seen something like that happen before, but we really enjoyed ourselves. And I think if you watch the film, it shows. You know, you can tell when an actor or an actress is just going through the motions, pretending that they really care about this other person, that they're really enjoying this other person. And then when the camera cuts, you imagine that they're like, okay, get off me, leave me alone, you know. And I've actually seen that on some sets where some of the talent will say, get off me, leave me alone, the camera's not shooting right now, because they're just really not into it. But Randy and I, we really enjoyed each other, and I think it's obvious when you watch the film. Apparently the critics thought so as well. But it was a good movie, and it was fun to actually have a screenplay that had some substance to it, that had some characters that we could actually sink our teeth into and enjoy. Now, I know a lot of people out there are thinking, we don't care about the dialogue or the acting. We just want to see the action. Well, that's kind of how things are nowadays. But I'm talking, this was 1989, 90, something like that. Back then, we actually had plots. We actually had character development so that when the characters had their scenes together, it kind of, there was some buildup. Now, some guys don't care for that. And that's fine, I'm not judging you. But there are guys who have partners, women, who sometimes enjoy these films. And most of the time, like 99 times out of 100, they don't want to see just the exciting scenes. They want to understand the characters and understand why they're getting involved. It kind of makes you invested emotionally in what you're watching, so that when the characters actually do engage with each other, it's more exciting and more fun. And if you are so lucky as to have a woman like this, it will enhance your personal life in the bedroom, I guarantee it. So that's why we do that. As a matter of fact, there was a wonderful woman, Candida Royale, who used to make movies just for women. I'm going to do a video about her at some point. But she did some wonderful movies that were very erotic from a woman's point of view. And I understand, like I said, there are guys that could care less. They just want to see the body parts doing their thing. Well, fine, but not all of the audience is like that. Some of the people who enjoy movies would prefer a little bit more. The masseuse gave people a little bit more. It gave them a reason to be invested in these characters. And it gave those men who had a woman who might be interested in watching something like this with them, if it was of good enough quality that might be inspiring to them, it gave them something to share with them.